hey, John, you look like you're eating something delicious.
And we are now live with episode number 60. 60! If you're just John joining us, congratulations, you made it through the purge. We're happy for you. I don't know.
Wait, there's a purge?
There was a purge. There was a purge of chickens.
Did I make it?
So, other than that, we are now live with episode 60. This episode, we are going to talk about changes within the gaming community. Not only personnel change, game changing, adding to the game, taking away from the game. There was some that happened this week that prompted us to think about this and do this. I know you can barely see me, but I'm over here at my computer while I get ready for the painting. But tradition calls that we go for it. Kathy, what you drinking?
Tea. I'm drinking a chai tea.
No rum?
No.
Oh my god. Mark this day down, John. Are you marking it? No. I need to hear you talk, man. I gotta check your microphone.
He's eating.
I'm fucking chewing.
John eating it up.
The day has been duly noted, sir.
Yes. John, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm finishing up a Summersby Hard Apple Cider that Not Brushhead Dave left here. Because they're naturally gluten-free, and he is not very glutinous. And I'm going to follow it up with a Dr. Pepper and Fireball.
Cool. Today, I am drinking a Boulevard Whiskey Barrel Stout that I got a couple of weeks ago. So this is really strong. Really stout. It's 11% alcohol, but it's a very strong beer.
Oh, that's way better than the 4.5 I'm staring at here.
Yeah.
Man, it's really good.
So, other than that, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's a good beer. Oh, that's a good beer.
It's a good cider. It's the most appley delicious of them.
Appley delicious.
Good leaf chai
Appley
tea.
delicious. Okay, let's set that aside. I'm going to work on my Mompox stuff. Let me switch over to our paint cam.
Paint cam!
John, I feel like a pint of cider like that would go great with like a shot of Fireball, like just chucked right into it. Kind of like a Johnny Jump Up, but with apple pie.
Johnny Jump Up? What the hell's a Johnny Jump Up?
I got nothing.
That's a shot of Jameson in a glass of cider.
Oh.
Never even heard of that.
It might be okay, but I like cinnamon apple, but I don't like drinking cinnamon apple as much as I like eating cinnamon apple.
Fair enough.
I did kind of go quickly and finish up the building. It's not like perfect, but it's just done and quick, and
It must be perfect!
it's pretty much done.
Okay.
That's fine.
I got nothing.
Neither do I.
Monsters attack it. Monsters will reduce it to rubble.
Yep. So I'm going to work on these guys today, and so all the little bitty dudes, and I will be washing. I'm going to do the spine and ridges on them because it's kind of like a wash dry brush type thing going on with it.
Oh, that's why they look weird, because they have just white on the spine and ridges.
Yes.
Ah.
Because through the camera, it just looks like, what are those dark spots on the bases? Like, no, those are the arms and stuff. That's called depth. Way to go, depth perception. I'll drink to you.
Oh, that's funny, yeah.
To be fair, my depth perception is kind of shit anyway, so.
Yeah, well, cameras play weird
Oh.
tricks in perspective.
A quick aside, my buddy Petey got the PlayStation VR.
Yeah? How's that
So
screwing with you?
It's like, oh, you should try it. I'm like, let me take a look. I'm like, oh, look, it's divided in the center. Nope, can't do that. This won't work. If you divide it down the center, I can't, because the eyes don't focus together.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
So no VR, no VR for John. which is fine. I don't really play video games. I wasn't going to spend money on something like that, but it's always disappointing when they exclude my 0.001% of the population from fun stuff. You could say it's discrimination, but it's really not.
You have no fun. None. There is no fun for you.
Oh, there's plenty of fun for me. I get to be in the room while people are doing that stupid shit. I get to fuck with them. I'm telling you, I'm going to buy, like, long-armed Swiffers and feather dusters and shit. Oh, there will be fun to be had. Don't you worry. Fun to be had. Does that make me a bad person?
No.
Okay. Just making sure.
But it's possible that we're both bad people, so
Well, if we're both bad people, at least we're good company.
Yes.
All right, so topic of the discussion is change, the constant in our life, no matter what, that we have to deal with. Recently, this week, some information came out, and of course, Kathy was kind of like, "What? Huh? That doesn't involve me." But it is correct. But it was a big news. As everybody knows, 2 PP staff members, or one of them quit, and then one of them put in his resignation. Now, we knew one of them was going to quit eventually or go somewhere else because it is Lyle Lowell. Lyle did No Quarter magazine, and as everybody knows, No Quarter is no longer around.
Wasn't he hired for something entirely different?
I think originally he was, but he took over as editor-in-chief for No Quarter magazine, and since No Quarter is no longer around,
it's the reason that everyone involved is going to be gone.
Yeah. So, everybody that was doing that is gone. And actually, there's been 3 PP people go. JR, which was their convention guy, went somewhere else. And then Lyle went and is going somewhere else. And I wish him the best of luck. If you've never met Lyle, he's a really cool dude, really quiet, very awesome. He told me where he's going, and I'm going to be super excited when he's allowed to say more. He'll say it. I'm really stoked for him. But really nice guy. He told us that at War Machine Weekend. But the big news was one of the painters did leave recently before War Machine Weekend. Brandon. He left also. So yeah, there was that one too. They're still trying to find another studio painter. But the one that goes the shocker was Will Pagani. And everybody knows Will Pagani. Really nice guy, really cool, really, really awesome guy to hang with. And it was kind of a shocker because it was done like right after Lyle's. But the one thing that was making it a shocker more than anything was hey, I put him a 2 weeks notice.
Yeah. There's some most shocking part is he put his week's notice, and he does not currently have another job.
Correct. He's currently doesn't have one lined up, which is kind of weird.
So, to all of you adults out there who may be younger than us, all due respect to Will, never do this.
Especially when you have a child.
Quit a job when you have another, unless you have another job. I mean, it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
Unless you're really certain that you've got the qualifications that you're going to find a job in no time at all.
Correct. Or maybe he's like, I'm going to find something part-time, and I'm going to be, a part-time dad, and we can afford that with the money, which is fine, because part-time jobs are super easy to find.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to try and paint models for a living.
Not Will.
There's a spot for someone to paint, tabletop quality models.
But what the really big shocker about all of this, and why it's kind of weird, is Will just kind of started with the company. He was only there for about 2 years. He came from our ranks, per se. He was a player first and did really well competitively, so on and so forth. Did a lot of cool things.
And he was a podcaster.
So it was like he came.
What was his role again?
He's a game developer. He was the one that helped with the rules. So, I mean, he came in doing stuff that, everybody was like, oh, that's so cool. It'd be cool to have him, do that. what I think is interesting is someone made a joke that Pagani came in, spent 2 years there, got Circle up really badass because it was like he played Circle, got Circle really badass, and then left. So it was like a running gag that some people were making.
Yeah, and people are making speculation as to why. Let's not speculate. That's not the point of this.
Yeah.
To speculate why, and he'll tell or he won't.
Yeah.
It'll come out or not. It doesn't matter.
If he tells, he tells. If he doesn't, I'm not worried about it. But as soon as he did that, it was immediately a shock to some of the community going, oh, well, that must mean PP's done and over with. Well, we've gone through this before.
To be fair, though, a lot of people leave in a short time. Overall sales numbers down. Most people report their metas have less people. Those are what's commonly called warning signs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to
Sugarcoat
doom
it.
and gloom, but there is something to be said. Maybe there's something going on there.
I
don't know.
There is that because people are concerned, which is because Will's a really cool guy. Will did a lot of good things for PP, and
Will had a very level head when it came to rules. I know his sort of internet, his podcaster persona was that he was all things are good or they're bad. It's binary. When you talk to him about something, it was never that binary in reality. Yeah. We had him a couple times on Pain Without John, and I loved talking with him because he had a very good head for these things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to miss him designing rules. I mean, to be honest, Pete, Mark III is not my cup of tea, but I'm going to miss having someone I know who's got a real level head in there.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that he probably will go to another game design because he did do something good for the game, and it wasn't just he wasn't just there and a pretty face, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
He did good for the company.
Mm-hmm.
He did good for the rules, so they I'm sure he'll find another job within the gaming community.
He'll land on his feet in there, and if not, I mean he was a successful game store owner. There are a lot of companies that like to hire people who were successful at starting their own businesses because it means they have a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
Not like Liam Neeson skills, like business type skills.
But it was a pretty big shock. And I think the thread got up to like 180 last time I saw about the doom and gloom of it. Because I messaged him and I'm like, are you part of this Facebook group? And he's like, no. I says, dude, you got to go in this and watch this. This is great. But PP has gone through this before. They've gone through changes like this before. I mean, right around Mark III, they went through and a bunch of staff quit. Ed Burrell, the list goes on and on. So it's just not something new. But the reason why it's a shocker is he was only there for 2 years. He was, a.k.a. one of us. And it was abrupt. So it's just kind of interesting. We'll have to wait and see what's going on. We can make speculations. I mean,
but let's not. I mean, we could speculate whatever. Aliens took over his mind and made him quit.
Yeah.
All right, speculation done.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I mean, the thing is a lot of people read too much into it and was going off on it, and it's like you can't because you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Yeah, they may, he may have gotten an offer and just not wanting to say about it.
Even those who have connections at PP don't know everything because their connections don't know everything.
Yeah.
No one's got the whole picture, so don't worry about it. Just let it move on, see where it goes, keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And that can be said about change in general. Is you have to keep an open mind about it. Because if you're closed-minded, you're going to live in the same place for your entire life, and that's not going to be good for anyone. Everyone needs to grow and change. It's just a fact of life. I say this a lot when I talk about, War Machine is maybe the game just passed me by. It's not what I want in a game. I mean, I was talking to Devil Squid, and it's not what he wants from a game anymore. And you would never find a bigger banner bearer for PP and War Machine of Hordes than Devil Squid for the longest time. But, his life changed. He left the military, moved back to this area. He and his wife and his daughters, he spent a lot of time with them. He wants something different from a game, so he's moving on. And you have to do that. You have to be ready to change. You have to accept the change in there. If we rail about change and want everything to stay the same, you get And this is an interesting example. You get Dungeons and Dragons, where they come out and they change the complete thing. They put out their 4th edition, and everyone's like either loves it or fucking hates it. And the people who hate it are super duper vocal and like, no, Magic Missile doesn't auto hit anymore. That's bullshit. Blah blah blah. All this change stuff, rather than actually giving it a fair chance. Or oh hey, this is wrong with it. This is wrong with it. Rather than actually giving it a fair chance. So, in reaction, because the game company can only react to what you do, they put out 5th edition, which is, I hate to be so blunt, more of the fucking same from D&D. It's plenty fun. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not innovative in any fucking way, shape, or form.
Yeah, agreed.
It's stagnant, which, if that's what you want, is fine. There is a space for a core game that stays the same regardless, because that's what some people want. But you have to think, what have you stopped? What have you hurt? What kind of growth have you hurt in the gaming industry by doing this? Even Magic, a staple of the game for way longer than I care to admit because it makes me feel fucking old, changes things here and there. They're constantly rotating everything they do card-wise. That is sort of like the epitome, It's just fitting that Tzeentch is the god of magic, huh, Kathy? Because change.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to embrace it. Those guys embrace change better than most. And so you have to do that in everything. A new game system comes out, Wild West Exodus, which I'm sure Kathy's going to talk about here in a moment. That changed the entire game between 1st and 2nd edition. Assuming that Relic Knights 2.0 gets out. I'm not holding my breath.
No, I saw an article on that.
They completely changed. They completely changed their system too, which is fine. You just have to be ready to embrace it and give it a fair chance. And if it's still not your thing, it's okay. There are other games out there. We are in a gaming renaissance. The tail end of the gaming renaissance. We're about to have a dip, but then it'll just come back up. Like Alfred said in Batman, why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves back up again. It'll go there. A change is going to happen. You got to be ready.
To be honest, I'm ready for the dip in the gaming. I just, there's just too many. There's too many for me to keep track of. It's sensory overload for gaming.
Well, it's like that in all media. Look at media. If I told any of you 20 years ago there would be too much, let's say, superhero media or sci-fi media for you to intake it all, and that would be okay, you would have laughed me out of the room. We never would have thought that, ever. But we're there. I haven't even looked at, like, any of the, the new DC Titans series. I haven't watched any of the Netflix now canceled series.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a while. There's so much out there I don't watch, and it's okay, because there's still so much out there to watch. It's really great for entertainment-wise. So, I mean, you got to embrace the change. Does someone else want to take it, or should I ramble on for another half an hour?
Adapt or die, and that's what we always say in our business too, because we have a small business. We paint miniatures for a living, and it started out where we were painting flat art, as we call it now, 2D art. And the market kind of collapsed. The economy kind of took a dip in the early 2000s when we were doing it, and people weren't buying art to hang on their walls. So we're like, well, what can we do? How can we adapt?
Mm-hmm.
And we decided painting miniatures would be the way, because we had already painted Blood Bowl teams for our friends, and they're giving us money to paint their teams. And we're like, well, what if we put some models on eBay? And this is back when eBay was all HTML and everything. So we had to learn how to work that. And you have to be willing to change and adapt and learn new things in order to survive, and that's what these game companies have to do.
If you look at the businesses, the big staple brand name businesses that are failed or are failing, the Kmart's, the Toys R Us, I know they're coming back. That's notwithstanding.
Sears,
the Sears. Why have they failed? Because they didn't adapt properly.
They didn't have the right people working for them that could that could tell them this is what we need to do to adapt to this changing climate. And Sears is what surprises me the most because they always had the mail order catalog thing.
But they went away
And
from that
they
thinking that was
never,
the future, and then it ended up being the future.
yeah, that's the thing that just boggles. But yeah,
They were so far ahead of the time that they thought what they were doing wasn't going to last when it turned out to become the new paradigm.
yeah.
They could have been Amazon before Amazon. They could have been Sears.
Yep.
And someone cries themselves to sleep over that every night, though they shouldn't because we don't have a crystal ball, you can't foresee it.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to change, you know. The game changes edition, you got to give it a chance. Wild West Exodus.
Unless, like Wild West Exodus, they only call it the same name and use the same models, but it's a different game completely.
But still, change. You got to take a look at it. You've got the models. You might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, that's true.
But-
And if you find out that it's not the game for you that your old game was, well, now you've got to sell your models off.
Or you don't have to. Or if you don't have to sell them, you can keep them. Maybe it'll change again. Maybe you like the models. Maybe you'll enjoy painting them. But you have to go out there and find another game. Talk with your gaming group. Find out what game fits what you like. Figure out what it is you want from a game. Find that game.
And thank goodness there are so many out there now that, you don't feel locked into that one game. You don't feel like, well, it changed a lot with this new edition, but I have all the models and there's really nothing else out there, so I guess I should just keep going with this. Nope.
I sort of wonder if maybe, not to be blunt, if maybe, War Machine's sort of going with that. Like, oh, they got all these models. Might as well keep playing it. Because edition change may not seem like a lot, but it actually was sort of sneakily a lot more than people think. Age of Sigmar, on the other hand, came out and killed the entire fantasy. Now, that is nominally a different game, but is played with the same basic models.
Yeah,
They've
it's nice
got
that
rules for all those models,
you can use most of those same models.
but it's one where the change was met poorly because it was handled, it was put out poorly. But then, they're not going away anytime soon. They eventually made their next edition, the one we're playing now, and suddenly it's a lot better. They got points values. They listen to people. They change to adapt to what their people want and need. It's two-way because companies have to do it too, and we have to do it. We have to give it a shot.
Which was interesting because that first change, I was like, ooh, Age of Sigmar's coming out with a new rule. There's a new edition of, aka Fantasy that we thought. And they're just going to call it Age of Sigmar. I was like, ooh, I'll check it out. And then when I checked it out, I was like, no. When it first came out. I was like, there's no way.
That's when change handled poorly. So them having to change it, sure, because Warhammer Fantasy was low sales comparatively. They were trying to revitalize it, trying to do something with it. It just handled poorly because they did not have their finger on the pulse of their clientele.
Yeah.
And well, look at, say, Blood Bowl, like any of the GW Specialist games that are changing.
All of those that went away, I mean, we loved them, and then they went away completely, and now they're reintroducing them.
And they're not all exactly the same.
No. Blood Bowl's about the closest, I would say.
I haven't played Necromunda because was not enthused by board game status to start, but...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was disappointing, and I feel like that was kind of the wrong fit for them to start out on with Necromunda.
But again, they quickly backpedaled and made a book like, here's how you play it in miniatures. Boom. So there you go.
Yeah.
I see Crimson said, speaking of change being handled poorly and people holding on to models, when do you think they will bring back squats?
Reset the clock!
You can't say that!
You said the S word! So, here's a little insider tidbit. Technically, their thought to reset the S word was the Demiurge from Forge World did in Battlefleet Gothic for a bit. Was it Forge World? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that was in Battlefleet Gothic for a bit. So they were going to have the Demiurge sort of be what the squats, replace them in the fiction, but that never really went out too far, unfortunately. A little insider GW knowledge that's, 2 decades old at this point.
Thank you for your obsolete knowledge.
You're welcome. I have plenty of obsolete knowledge. So what else about change? I mean, oh, that's a good one. I did the one after watching a video from Toy Galaxy about the poison of nostalgia, which I think I shared on the page, and or maybe just on my personal Facebook. Really spoke to me, and that's a lot about change too. We have to change. We look back on stuff and we're nostalgic for it. People come and say like, "Oh, the old Space Marines are good. These ones are okay, but I really like the fully multi-posable kits better."
No, you don't. They're not nearly as good.
And stuff like that. The models have to change, and they'll go through their cycles. You have to take a look at them. And the company has to keep changing. Multi-part models seem really cool, but they really limit the sculptability of a model, let's say, because you have to have all those cut lines so that you can have all the arms and legs and whatever you want posable, and it starts limiting the model. These new kits that are sort of quasi-posable are probably better. I think most of them, when you look at, say, cool Sequitur, quasi-posable, you can do a couple arm changes, a couple extra bit changes. That's probably the way it's going to be forward. And that's okay.
People say they're impossible to convert, but I feel like you just have to change your idea of what conversion is.
That's a conversion.
Yeah.
Boom. Next second Standard Bearer. Ain't no thing. You just have to try and do it. It's not as easy as it used to be, and I hate to... this is going to sound really horrible and elitist. If you can't convert these new models, then what you were doing wasn't conversions. They were putting parts on models they didn't belong on. If that's all you ever did was, I'm going to take these Beastman arms and put them on my Catechins. Yeah! Okay, cool. But you can still do the same shit, it just takes a little more work. You actually have to put a little effort into it. Unfortunate? Maybe. But you know what? It is what it is.
Just a little more sawing and a little more green stuff, that's all.
And some pinning. Little pin goes a long way. I wish I still had the model. I had a Forge World Elysian drop troop where I didn't like the way his leg was posed. So literally, I just cut a chunk out, pinned it in, got to the right pose, and then green stuffed the empty bit.
I chopped both the legs of my GW Giant off at the knees so that I could have him in a kneeling pose.
But that's sort of the thing. It's the models are going to change. You have to change with them. There was the glory days of fully posable multi-part kits. But look what we got. Do you remember the Chaos Warriors from that time?
Oh, yeah.
They are not good. And yes, the new Chaos Warriors are diametrically the opposite in posability. You just stick their arms in, they rank up. They're from a rank up era. Eventually they'll change because they have to, but they're still better than the old hunched over fully posable ones. Those guys were not good.
Oh, I still GW sometimes does that thing where they hunch guys over, or they lean them over, and I feel so bad because there's all this detail on the front of the model, and I want to see the front of the model, but the model is like at a 45-degree angle to the table.
Yep.
And all of the Beastmen Blood Bowl models are like that. And I feel bad. I would like them to just be, at least some of them, just be standing upright, so you can see the front of them and see all that fun detail that they put on it.
Yep. And Crimson brings up a good point where he's like, Vince Venturella had a good point about a while back. The reason why GW is still around after 40 years is because they were willing to change with the times. Even some people got upset at the moment because they like their fantasy battles or their squats or whatever. Absolutely. They have never been shy about changing. And one of the few companies that have never been shy about eventually going, okay, we did this wrong, we need to change again. I'll be honest, they made 3 to 5 year business plans that generally lasted about a year and a half. But companies have to be agile like that. You have to be able to make a right turn, Clyde, because otherwise you're just going to go away. Too many companies aren't agile, and they move at the speed of sloth spucking, which I'm told is slow, and I haven't seen. I don't want to, so don't send me any videos.
Requests.
No. I don't think you can sneak them in. Banny and I used to play a game where we'd send each other the most horrible video. I have a nose for these sort of things.
as it were.
as it were. Where were we? Change, yes. That hasn't changed. But yeah, the companies have to be agile, and we sort of have to be the same way. We have to be agile and willing to change up what we're doing. It's like when you're playing a game, and this is going to get a little deep and meta. You have to be willing to change your game plan, your strategy on the fly to match the situation.
I'm trying to be adaptable. The game that I got into after Gen Con, the Age of Sigmar Champions, they just released their Onslaught, which is the second wave of cards for that game. And since it's a digital app and a lot of people are playing on the digital app before they're running out to get their physical cards, the servers crashed and everything. But I mean, be that as it may, now there's all these extra cards that I now have to learn. And now I have to learn how they're going to interact with all the cards that already exist. And I'm like, do I have time to do that this week? And I'm looking on the Discord server, looking at all these other people who have already played a million games, and they're all posting their deck lists and everything. And I'm like, who has time for this? I'm like, I'd love to go out and get some physical cards and scan them in and, see how they interact with my cards. And I don't have time right now to do it. But I'm amazed that there's all these other people that are out there already experimenting with it and putting decks together and talking about it.
It's much the same thing, though. They're if you will, and a problem I have, they're agile, if you will, with their time, their ability to spend time doing things. I am not. We had a week ago where they're like, "Hey, John, you coming over today to watch Ninja Batman?" And I'm like, "No, because you didn't tell me last night. I already have plans for tonight. I can't just change like that. I'm a planning guy. I have to plan it." And then the next day they're like, I'm like, "Oh, how was Ninja Batman?" Like, "Oh, we didn't watch it. Do you want to come over now and watch it?" I'm like, again, if you told me last night you didn't watch it, I would not have made plans. I have things I have to do. But, if you want to get all the stuff you got to be a little more agile with your time. I find I am not, and when plans change, I may be caught sort of flat-footed by that. And then suddenly I'm like, I got nothing to do, so I'm going to sit around and, watch videos and movies and shit. Which is not bad, but sometimes you feel like you could be more efficient with your time.
Yeah.
It all sort of ties into the same general thought of that is you have to be able to adapt to the change. If you can't adapt to the change, it's not going to be good. I didn't adapt to the change in, War Machine and Hordes to theme lists all the time, every time. And the end result is I don't play the game anymore. Part on me, part on them. I can't give them full culpability. They're trying to change the game, trying to stay ahead, and I'm not changing with them. But that's not always bad. That just means I've had more time to play with other people, other games. I've been really enjoying the other games I'm playing. But it all sort of interconnects. It's amazing how much one thing in life interconnects with the rest of life, even if it's just on a theory standpoint.
And then there's me, who's just, 40K has changed from 4th edition to 5th edition. I played a bunch in 4th. I get to 5th edition. I play like 3 games. Other things happen. I lose interest for whatever reason. I start playing fantasy, and just as I'm getting my ogres completed, they change to a new system.
Yeah.
They change to the next edition, and and then other things in life are happening at this time too. So I feel like I get behind and I can't catch up, and I move on to another game. And so for me, when these these changes and additions happen and stuff, I kind of end up leaving a game by the wayside.
So that's the good thing of what GW is doing, and I think most companies are going to follow suit. Rare exception, of course, being weird with Malifaux, is GW has set up their systems now, so they don't need to change editions unless they're doing huge changes. It'll no longer be, oh, you know, 5th edition comes out, or 4th edition comes out, it's basically 3rd edition with some revisions. 5th edition comes out, it's basically 4th edition with some revisions. They handle that all through their General's Handbook and or Chapter Approved books now. So
You don't
that
have
was
to get like all new rule book and all
Nope.
new. Yeah, that's
it's
nice.
likely that eventually one will come out, but until then, you know, rumor has it Grey Knights, let's say for example, are going to get a huge buff by having their points lowered to the point where they're not terrible, because the internet said they're terrible. Actually, my friends say they're terrible too, so they might actually be terrible.
It's terrible.
They're way too expensive. I own a Grey Knight army, and you can't bring enough to get what you need
Yeah.
done.
That's
Yeah,
always
so-
the case.
But so they're looking at that they're being agile with their game design. You know, look at Predator Press. The CID is sort of the definition of game agility. They're being agile with their game design. You know, they're even if they are testing their new models with it also, which I don't think is as good of an idea, but that's a story for another time. They're testing old models to try and keep them from completely falling by the wayside, trying to keep the power creep down. It's a really good idea. GW's not scared with the fact. PP's never been scared about the fact, though they're a little bit more now, which is weird. Weird has never been scared of using FAQ to change things. Who is that? Corvus Belly loves to just quietly, when they do an errata, suddenly points change for all these overpriced or underpriced units. You know, suddenly you're like, oh, these points change. The internet has made it easy for games to be more agile. FAQs, adjustments, and the more you go to something online like a war room, you can do so much more with it, and you can you can have that change quickly and easily. So it's not, oh, I got to buy all these old books again, blah blah blah. It's like, nope, click update, it's updated, boom, new points. Let me just start researching it. It's really great.
Does it seem like the idea that people can have one of these books as an app, or I don't know, is it GW that has one where they can change the errata and everything?
Yep, they changed the errata in the book from what I understand.
So I can see how that would make it much more agile
Absolutely.
that way, rather than every few years coming out with a new book.
Yeah, it's excuse me, I'm not as sure with 40K, but Age of Sigmar has an app for building armies and stuff, and if you have the book through the app, which is generally half price of the physical book, which is good. From what I understand, they actually update the book when the FAQ comes out. Because it's just digital media. Change this, all right. Just set this to change that little bit in the coding when they download it again.
That seems like such a much easier way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And less expensive.
Also, it prompts them to keep coders on retainer or even on staff, so that they can do all the web stuff they have and all the army builder stuff they have, so they don't have an army builder where they can't update it because the guy who made it refuses to work for them because he's got other things to do that's worth more money to him.
This actually happened.
Xander says, I like how Corvus Belli has made the army builder for Infinity the stats of models now, and then release a fiction and a physical copy of faction.
Absolutely. It keeps them from doing the 2-book thing that they were doing for a bit. They can have a little rules section and a fiction section. I haven't picked up a 3rd offensive yet because I haven't done a lot of Infinity for a while, but I plan on it. It's great. Zenivor also says, and this is a good one, this is the hardest part of change that he brings up here, is some days it feels like it hurts to give up a game that has meant so much to you for so many years invested in it. That is true, but there's a sign at my work that says, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And I try to take that to heart when I'm thinking of stuff. I have fond memories of War Machine and Hordes, playing games and all that. That doesn't mean necessarily I won't play a game again, but, they can't take those away from me. They can't take the friends and acquaintances I've made, all that stuff. They can't take that away just because I don't play the game anymore. I mean, you look at most of the people, you eventually move out and do other things. And I've said this before, the thought that you will play one game for the rest of your life is
bullshit.
It's old. It's antiquated thinking. It comes from back when there was like only 2 miniature games to play. Well, we'll say there were technically a ton, but they were either you played Warhammer, or you played 40K, or you fucking played historicals.
Pretty much. I was gonna say you played Napoleonics, or then you
or
played
Civil War, or
Citadel.
So I mean, back in the day, that's what you had. So the thought you play one game for the rest of your life wasn't really out of hand. There were only 3,
Yeah.
but nowadays, 3 come out every year, at least. Heck, you could probably go on Kickstarter right now and probably find 1 or 2 miniature games in the works. And so you have to change with the thought of that, And like I said, it is sad that you have all these models and you're not using them right now. Maybe the day will come you use them again, but it doesn't take away, everything else you did with them. All the fun you had, all the people you met, none of that goes away.
Or you sell off those models.
Yeah, that's a possibility if you can. It's a tough market right now, Kathy. It is the definition of a buyer's market.
Yep.
I suggest keeping models unless you really, really need the room or a quick influx of not a lot of cash. But again, because that may change again. Change is going to happen. Mark IV might come out, or Mark III Remix might come out. Whatever they're going to call it, the next edition might come out, and then who knows what's happening. And now miniature games have to compete with video games and mobile games a lot more. You're right. And even those change. New games come out. I get made fun of a lot because I'll play a game. Let's just say when I buy a game, I get my value out of that goddamn game. I played Diablo 2 forever. I'm still playing Borderlands 2. I play Star Realms. I'm getting a lot of value out of those games. But even me, I realize at some point I'm going to want to change to another game.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and Borderlands has come out with a VR version.
We had this discussion, didn't we?
Yeah, but I can play the VR
I believe the
version.
discussion was
You can't do it, but I can.
I cannot. Well, it's fine. I still enjoy it. I still enjoy watching stuff on it. And if not, I'll find another game. There's plenty out there.
Yep.
Always more games. Path of Exile.
Then you get the card games like Champions, where they also have a digital app, and so I've been playing all mobile
Yep.
because it is a mobile game. Because I don't have people near me that play the physical game.
But think of how awesome it is now that everything has changed that you can do that.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's groundbreaking. No one else does that.
They had a huge tournament at PAX Unplugged this weekend of the physical game, and there were a number of people there that I knew from the app and the Discord server. And they were playing the physical game. So, I mean, it is interchangeable, and I love that about that they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that would work with models, tabletop games.
Probably not. They've tried to fully integrate, if you will, the tabletop into an app, but it doesn't really work very well. And honestly, I'll be an old Grognar here and go against the change. I don't really want it to. That seems too much like, rather than trying to change, you're trying to fit a square peg through a round hole.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's
Make something different.
like, okay, card game, you can play it mobile and stuff. I can get that. A miniature game on a mobile app, per se, it just, to me, it takes away from it.
You might as well just play a role-playing game where
No,
you've got fantastic art to go.
It's a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
It literally becomes a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with those games.
Nope. Just that's
If
not
that's
what I
your
wanted
thing.
out of that type of game.
Exactly. We had that discussion at the game store when we bought all our stuff. Banan was looking at Keyforge, and I politely told him that, because he forgot last week's thing, I'm not going to get into that. You're welcome to buy decks if you want. I'm not doing it. And the guy behind the counter is like, I just out of my curiosity, and this is the first, this guy's been at the store for a while, but we don't really interact too much. It was the first time. He's like, I just want to know, why you think that way. And I'm like, well, I want different from my game. I want, the mental interaction. We talked about that, all that stuff. He's like, that's a really fair way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing is you weren't dogging the game. It just doesn't fit what you want out of a game.
It's a license to print money.
Yeah.
And the only potential problem I've had, and I've stated this, is that if they make, bring your decks, because apparently the tournament there is, I don't know if we went over this is a little off topic, But apparently the tournament format is you bring 3 decks, and they get to see what factions they are, and your opponent gets to choose one of them that you're not allowed to play.
I've never heard of that. Even looking at the tournament rules.
I don't know where he got it, but that's what he said, and he works at the game store. He's got to know something.
I know they had a big tournament of that at PAX as well.
Hey, Legionnaires.
Hey, Legionnaires.
You can check the beginning part on the YouTubes, or the downloaded version on
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, absolutely, or your favorite.
Or iTunes. Dude, on the tunes of I.
The tunes of I. Yeah, so I mean that's interesting. I'll see that, but again, that's another game where that's a game where they weren't afraid to change the dynamic. Richard Garfield, who started this whole thing, we can't argue that at all. That's just fact. Made a new game and entirely made it that it would be sealed deck. He designed. It's a great idea. It's licensed to rent money, and it is on our theme a good change to how those games are done, and I like that because we don't get innovation, we don't get new stuff if we don't change the way the old stuff works. So we keep using the same old. We stagnate, and everything goes by the wayside. It becomes old hat. You lose people, and maybe this is just speculation towards the end of our change thing. Maybe that's part of what's wrong with War Machine of Hordes. Maybe it didn't change enough. Maybe we needed it to change more. Maybe it's just old hat. Maybe people wanted something more dynamic out of it. That sort of thing. GW's never been shy to change their games completely. Weird's editions have all been upgrades and good changes. Mark 1 to Mark 2 was a good change, but Mark 2 to Mark 3 smacks a lot of those middle 40K editions where they're just revisions. Maybe 1 or 2 things changed really big, but they're just little changes. Because honestly, if you look back in the history of time, because if you all know, those who do not understand history are doomed to repeat it, Privateer Pest does seem like they're following the GW early 2000s, or let's say mid-2000s, the early 2010 playbooks, line by line, and that's not good. So, it's kind of interesting to see,
Your guy is wrong, by the way. You bring one deck.
Shock me.
You bring one deck, and that's it.
I don't know if he was trying to sell me on decks. I doubt it. He think they know me well enough to know that I buy what I buy, and I don't listen to them.
You bring one deck and one deck only.
To be fair, I thought that was an interesting idea for a game format, though.
It could be an alternate format, but the standard is not.
Yeah, I think the standard should be sealed deck. But
yeah,
that's just me.
So.
In any case, so there's some more thoughts on that. Maybe we wanted more change, maybe we needed more change, because sometimes things really need to change.
It's the only constant.
The only constant is change. Yeah, change and death, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
remember, no one gets out of life alive. That changes too.
Well, going back to the original part of this is that, just because something happens doesn't mean it's the doom of whatever's going on.
Nope. Remember, there are always 2 ways to approach any situation. There's emotion, and then there's logic. Emotion says doom and gloom, because it's just like, oh my god, this is changing. The emotional side of you does not like change.
Oh yeah, people don't want to learn the new thing.
It's hard. People don't want what's hard. They want what's easy and comfortable.
Oh, I remember whenever they were talking about the new edition and stuff, and people were like, oh, they're going to allow pre-measure in the game. It's just going to ruin the game and make it the most worthless thing ever. And it's just going to ruin the game, and I'll never play again because pre-measure will ruin the game. And I'm like,
that means just
bullshit.
Any idiot can just go out there and pre-measure their stuff, and they don't. I weaned my eyeballing skills.
Yes.
And now I suffer.
I'm going to say something about that. You remember Token Shitstorm, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened because of pre-measure.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, those guys were right, but for the wrong reasons. It's not that the rule was bad, and I hate saying this about you guys, because I don't mean all of you guys. I never wanted to. There's a certain section of players That or just win at all costs fucktards. And that's in every game. Every game.
Yeah.
And the guys were like that. And I'm not going to name names. I could. I'm not going to name any of the names of the guys who are really outspoken about that. Took it too far. They are part of the reason I stopped playing in the first place. And now I'm not really interested in getting started again. So, hey, thanks for that. Not really, thanks. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I don't really have grudges. I mean, it is what it is, guys.
Yeah. I just remember it was like, no, they won't do pre-measure in it. I'm like, yeah, they will. Yeah, you'll get pre-measure in the game.
Yep.
And they're like, no, well, because it's just going to ruin the game and people are just going to quit because... And Kathy's right. There were people who are like, but man, I had triggered out all my trigonometry and measurements and all this other stuff for so long.
I played against a carpenter in 40K in fantasy. That shit ain't fair. You got Mr. Crazy Eyes versus a guy who can be like, oh yeah, that's 26.5 inches. And I'm like, no, it's not. Well, fuck me, it is exactly 26.5 inches. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Do you remember when all the manufactured terrain came out and GW was making these tables and some of the tables were on these like, 1x1 tile things? And it's you're like, really?
Yeah.
Really? I don't have to eyeball anything. I know that this is 12 inches.
Yeah.
Kathy, you know the carpenter I played against.
Oh, do I?
Jeff Wallach.
Oh,
In a past life, he was a carpenter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There you go, a little knowledge for you. But it didn't ruin the game. Pre-measure didn't ruin the game. People ruined the game. So here's the funny thing. A rule cannot ruin the game. People misusing that rule or continuing to play the game with a rule they know they fucking hate are ruining the game. Because they're not changing. The game has changed. It happened. You need to change what you're doing. Some change too far and take it too far, and some are like, I'm not going to change. So that hurts a game too. There's lots of things in there. I mean, you can change too much. Look at certain games. Boom. Yeah, pre-measuring meant you get to be lazy, but that's fine. How many times did you just measure your control area? You'd set it up right. You'd take those shitty shots, with your guys and as you're measuring the full range, you eyeball the distance there because you've got a tape measure out, and that's perfectly legal. It was basically all but pre-measure anyway, so that didn't do it. It's people who went the next level.
Yeah.
That ruined it. And people who maybe just didn't even want to go there, Is what it is.
Uh-huh.
The result, things change. You have to be open to it. You have to at least give it a chance. And if it's not your thing, don't be a bitch about it. Be like, hey, not my game anymore. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm going to go do something else. And yeah, it sucked. You've got models. They don't work anymore. But the game company doesn't owe it to you to make the game continue to work for you. And it's unfortunate truth that that's the change. They have to change or they're going to go out of business. You cannot remain stagnant forever. Until someone makes the perfect rule set.
Hint, it doesn't exist.
You're going to have games changing.
Yeah,
And games changing means some people are going to be hurt by it. Models aren't going to be as good as they are. Models aren't going to be used. We all of us who play know that Private Press needs to do something about the spam. They're probably not going to, but they need to. And yes, it'll mean, because it's changed, things are changing, you may not be able to use all the models you have. You know what? It fucking happens. Talk to the squats guys. I reset the class again.
Sad but true.
Talk to anyone who had Dogs of War, anyone who had
Kings.
Zotes. I'm going real far back with Zotes.
You are.
Any of those armies, Bretonnians are practically gone.
Yeah.
Any of those armies that have completely gone away, or they've all felt it. They've all been there. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry, it is. But guess what? All those extra models means you can play with them when you play
Casually, because casual is the way to play the game.
So
Wait, what? Casual?
I know.
Wait, what?
I know.
Not
I know. There are multiple ways to play a game.
Wait, all my casual games are geared towards practicing for my tournaments.
That's
Said somebody else, not me.
I don't want to get into trouble. Don't get me started. If you don't play any actual casual games, it's not good.
In Champions, I I'm in like bronze, which is like the lowest rank because I barely played any ranked games because it was too much fun playing casual games.
That's fine. I mean, games exist at different levels for different people. You know, look at video games. They've maybe not the ones right now, but in general they have it right. Oh, hey, do you want to play easy, medium, or hard? Well, hey, look, there's a thing. If I come home and I want to pop in Halo and I just want to shoot every motherfucking alien that pops his full alien head out from behind cover, easy as is. I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to be actual Master Chief. I'm murdering all the aliens because, god damn it, that's what I need for catharsis. Or maybe I want a moderate challenge, so I'm not that good. Medium level. Or maybe I'm the hardcore guy who wants the toughest damn challenges. I want to curse at the game and want to throw my controller through the wall every time I pick it up and put that game in. Then maybe I play hard. But that's the same sort of thing. It's casual, middle, and, tournament. There are multiple ways to play a game. And if a game doesn't have that levels, you've got to bring those levels to the game.
Yeah.
I have it.
You
I'm
can be
ranting.
like my husband and, just invent your own campaigns and scenarios.
Awesome. I mean, I'm making rules for Age of Sigmar slow grow because I want to have an Age of Sigmar slow grow and I don't want it to be just murder your opponent. Yeah, that's boring. Let's have some different objectives.
You don't hate yourself from playing Dark Souls. You hate everything. The game, yourself, everything when you play Dark Souls.
I found it funny when they put Dark Souls on the Switch. I'm like, oh, that's dirty pool. That's a blatant sales tool because someone's going to spike their Switch. This goddamn game! And then they got to buy a new one.
Yeah, a whole new one.
But there you go. Change is good. Embrace it.
All right, let's go ahead and go over to media section. Get going with that. 'Cause it's almost about that time.
It is almost about that time.
Close enough for government.
Close enough for government time. Oh, my nose is all stuffed up.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I don't know.
You live in the land of allergies?
Yes, I do.
Wait.
Oh, I guess I can chill for a minute. Haven't been drinking enough. Camera shake. Shake, shake, shake. Let's go ahead and discuss. Kathy, you said you had at least some this time.
I watched the first 5 or so episodes of Disenchanted, which I know that Gonzo watched some of a while back.
I watched the whole thing.
And I for the most part enjoyed it. And I say for the most part because there were some thinking things in there, and there were some funny things in there, and it was intelligent humor. But there were a few things where they tried to make a joke and it just fell flat.
Yes. Very much so.
But for the most part, I actually did enjoy it. Best thing ever? No. But I liked it. I liked the demon. The little demon just cracked me up. The cat. Did you get a chance to watch that at all, John?
No, God, no. How far behind am I on media?
Very
It
far.
defies description.
Well, it's eclectic though, so I never know.
Yeah, I have a long list of things I really, really want to watch, and that's gotten middle of the road reviews because Gonzo's like, yeah, it's good, and then who's it? Sung Sao said it was terrible.
I said it was horrible too.
Oh, you said it was horrible, so it was the other way around. Someone said it was good. You said it was horrible.
I think he said it was good.
Yeah, because he said it was good after you said it was horrible, and we were all chuckling about that. Just forgot the order.
Most part, there were some things that fell flat in it where you could tell they were trying to make a funny and it just didn't work. Like the timing wasn't there, or the voice actor was not quite giving it the right tone. But other than that, I enjoyed it so far. 5 or so episodes in, and I'll watch some more of it.
Cool. Oh no. Oh, Brad, really? You gonna start with that? You start with that? All right, I'll start with my first one there, Gonzo.
All right.
In convincing Brad that Expendables 2 was a better movie than he thought, because I watched it yesterday, and I'm not going to review it because I'm going to review that in Next Minis and Movies, because I'm going through the whole series. I went through, Brad, you're just downstairs. I can go downstairs and kill you. Don't take my puns. Those are my puns. In any case, I found that Russian Avengers movie, Guardians, was on free on Amazon Prime.
I meant to go watch that.
I saw that the other. Not. I didn't see the movie, but I saw that it was on Amazon Prime.
How to describe it? So it's dubbed. The version is dubbed.
Hmm?
The voice acting is fucking horrible. I mean, occasionally, like, that wasn't too bad, but other times you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, a little inflection, a little pause between sentences. Just pretend you care. Pretend. Visuals are solid for the most part, though. The one guy, the super speed guy with the weird swords, physics called. They want to talk about your swords because I don't think they work the way you think they work. So the whole plot is, in the past, in the Cold War, two scientists were working on, super secret stuff to fight the Americans or any other enemy, though they never say the Americans. Much like we don't do a lot of poking at Russia or poking at China, they didn't actually say Americans. Yes, the bad guy had small feet. They made this big program to create super soldiers. The one scientist had a plan. It failed. He almost killed himself. He was really upset and jealous of the other doctor whose stuff worked, and they started making these super soldiers. Well, the bad guy kept trying, and then, thought he made a huge explosion, thought he died. He ended up giving himself superpowers. Disbanded the program. All the super soldiers went their separate ways. Well, now Mr. Small Feet, Tiny Boots is back. He can control mechanical things, all mechanical things. It doesn't matter if he should be able to control said mechanical thing, i.e., like Deuce and a Half style trucks.
Like
because with his mind. Well, with his mind and gestures and electrical sparks. Because, I mean, you got to have a gimmick. So he's doing that, and they don't know what he's after because they don't explain it well. And then they drop the exhibition bomb on you again. Like, it was it was like 5 straight minutes of exposition. You're just like, come on, guys, get to the fucking point. So they send the military commander to go arrange them all, and it's really short. It's find the one guy who controls rocks and earth. Short discussion. He's in. Go find super speed guy after he murders a bunch of bad guys in physics-defying ways. He was kind of cool. Then go find Ursus, the giant werebear, because calling him Ursus would be too far on the nose. They had to call him Arceus instead. And then they find the other chick who can control her body temperature and or not control it. She doesn't feel hot or cold, and she can turn invisible.
But only while in water.
Invisible only in water?
She's also pretty kick-ass. We later learn her actual superpower. So they go there. They go after the bad guys. The bad guys don't care. It's raining. She's invisible because it's rain. Okay, kind of cool. But they have thermoptic stuff. They can see her, so they freeze her. They kick the crap out of the rest of them. They break the back of the main guy, who's the rock guy, and capture him. He's like, "You must join me." Not for any good reason. Just, you must join me. They heal the rock guy. He goes and does stuff, and they go rescue the rest of them, bring them back, and they make gear for them. So they have super suits that make them better at what they do. There's lots of exposition and backstory that
we don't fucking care about.
But they enhance the super speed guy. They enhance the rock guy with this crazy electric whip that has like rocks every little bit. That's how, so he can control where the whip goes because he controls rocks, but it's got electricity. It doesn't actually make sense, and it doesn't make any more sense in the movie than I'm making it sound now. They make, I'm not sure which word. So we find out that they make the suit for the chick, and she can now turn invisible all the time and turn one thing she's holding into invisible. And we also find out that her actual superpower is that ass. Because they focus on that for a solid, 10 seconds. You're like, well, okay. That's part of her superpower, I guess. Yikes. And then the bear gets Gatling guns. Because werebear with Gatling guns. We all know this is the reason we watched the movie to begin with.
That seems
Unfortunately,
solid.
it never really pays off. He barely uses them.
Barely.
Yep. The best is when he goes full bear, and they're like in a backpack on his back. He can pull them out on his arms. But while he's in full bear form, running around mauling people, it's a turret. And it's fucking shooting people, and I thought that was awesome. End result: exposition, things that aren't earned. They beat the bad guy. Roll credits. Stinger in the middle of the credits. They captured the military commander chick, who for some reason through part of it was wearing leather pants. I don't know why. Apparently she's got partial superpower. Same one. And they're like, why did you do this? Who's attacking you? And they drop a name because they're apparently planning on a sequel.
Yeah.
Will I watch the sequel? No,
Yes.
probably not.
Yes, you
No.
will. Yes, you will.
No.
Yes, you will.
So,
Probably
end
will,
result,
yeah.
I would give this 4 space herpes. Because the voice acting and story is that bad. But I'm going to take 1 away because that ass and the various graphics in it are actually pretty solid. So end result, 3 space herpes. I would actually suggest watching it once. You won't watch it twice. There's not enough good parts for twice. With the dubbing, it feels like a kung fu movie, but doesn't feel like a good kung fu movie. It is the only redeeming feature it has over certain DC movies is the fact that it's only 90 minutes long. So if you want to watch something that's like sort of half the length of an average DC movie and easily similar quality, watch this instead. But not even a werebear with Gatling guns can save this from being mediocre as fuck. Kathy, you got any other ones? Gonzo, you want to do one?
I could do one, and I actually binge watched the entire second season of MST 3000. And so I watched all 6 episodes, which they call it the Gauntlet, which is a running gag through the entire series. The first of their show was a show called Mac and Me, which is a complete ripoff of E.T.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not a good ripoff.
No, it's a horrible, horrible ripoff.
Yeah, it is. Let us just say it is no bueno.
Yeah, it is so bad. I think I actually saw it back when it was like on one of the shows or something. But I mean, it is horrible. They make some pretty good jokes. And they actually take one of the jokes they make in this and continue it through the entire series.
I like running jokes.
And this was
Tried to kill him with the forklift.
And I mean, and it's just one phrase, pretty nice, and they go with it through the entire rest of the season, and it is hilarious. So it's Mac and Me, and it's a ripoff of
E.T.
E.T. is horrible beyond belief. It has some of the stupidest stuff. The inside or the commercial breaks where they do certain things in between, the episodes or during episodes, and the also the episodes, the invention episodes, trading invention episodes, is so worth it. They do some really good ones, and they break that. I mean, they rag on this show so bad. It is so good. I'm going to skip number 2 because it's going to come up. Number 3 is Lords of the Deep, and it is a bad version of The Abyss. And yeah, it's a ripoff of The Abyss.
No. How bad? Are we talking Deep Star 6 or are we talking Leviathan?
We could skip those and go lower.
Whoa.
Like one of the creature.
Deep Star 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad. Because even the creature is like a paper mache creature that they, bring up, and it's like, where the heck? What? And there's some pretty good ones. That episode was not too bad. It had some good funny parts, but you're watching it and you're like, how can this be true? How can this, be an episode that people tried to make money off of, or a movie? You're just like, no. The next one is the daytime ended. Now on this one, it was just an old movie that had really nowhere it was going. It was just way out there. But it was an older movie where the cool special effects back then was stop motion. You know what I'm saying? Like the old Sinbads.
Wait. If you're going to talk about stop motion, you should start at the peak.
The
Clash
claymation.
of the Titans.
Oh, well,
All
but
you really have to do is say Ray Harryhausen.
Ray
Yeah.
Harryhausen, goddamn right. He's a hero.
But I mean, it was an interesting movie on its own, but it was just bad. And I can't really fault them because that was an old movie that would have been cool then. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I watched it. It was okay. They did some pretty decent jokes. Second one was Killer Fish, which is a story about a heist where they dump the heist gems in a lake, but they put piranhas in this lake. Mind you, this lake looks like an ocean. And it's huge because it's at Brazil. There is a lot of weird props. They did a lot of miniature scenes with it, and it was so funny because like they got this boat, and this boat is sitting there and rocking in the waves. You can tell that someone's holding it, or it's at the edge of someone's beach. And I mean, there's just a lot of bad miniature scenes. But it has a major actor. It had some major actors in it, which I thought was interesting. Lee Majors, the old $6 million man, was the lead in this. But he couldn't save it. It was just bad.
Funny that you would mention Lee Majors. He was in Scrooged. Tell him with me right now. Go ahead.
But I mean, it was just really, really bad. The movie, even for the time that it was in, it would have been bad. Some pretty decent jokes. They cracked $6 million man jokes through the whole thing. And the last one was Ator, the Fighting Eagle, which is a complete ripoff of course, Conan the Barbarian. But it is pure sexual 70s outfits of, women are all completely, chainmail bikini. And,
It's a Frank Frazetta picture just
Oh,
a movie.
Yes, 100%.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. War Eagle. It was pretty funny. And it was really, really bad. I actually looked up some of the actors in it and was like, what are they doing now? And they're like, oh,
Nothing.
the main
They're
guy
all
did something.
dead.
But it was really bad. Overall, they did some really good jokes. Overall, the season was really good. But we're going to go back to episode number 2. Episode number 2 is, of course, our favorite of all favorite movies that we love to hate, Atlantic Rim. Holy fuck.
Why did people doubt me?
Yeah. Now, the funny part is I'm watching this, and I've only watched part of it. I never watched the full thing when we, back when we were doing the other show. But, I mean, I was like, this is bad. I mean, this is really, really bad. And I got to go with John. Whoever had to sit through this multiple times to, get the jokes and rewrite jokes in this, I feel bad for them.
It does not succeed on any level.
No. I mean, and the thing is this was only made, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's
6
not
years?
that old.
No.
It came out,
I mean, the monsters. It looks like one of my third graders drew it and designed it.
and people can say, oh, The Asylum. I've seen other The Asylum movies. I've seen, I'll say this with no joking, the first Avengers Grimm.
They made 2 sequels somehow.
And it was not nearly this bad. It was like, okay, this is watchable. It's not good, but watchable. This is just fuck awful.
Oh, it's bad. I mean, not only is it horrible special effects, horrible robots. I mean, it's just horrible. If we know this because it's one of our standards of Atlantic Rim to Casablanca, But I mean, damn, they tear it up. They rip the shit out of it. They have some really, really good jokes.
How good are jokes? Because I really don't want to have to see this movie again.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I suggest that anybody that likes MS3K, go and watch it. Watch this season. The season's been really good. I don't know if they're going to do another one because they only did 6 episodes. So, don't know if they'll do another one. But go and watch it. Enjoy it. It is hilarious.
If you like MS3K, watch some because that's how Netflix decides if they do more.
Yeah.
If you watch it.
But I mean, it was really good. They had some really good ones. There was a couple of times I had to stop it because I was like, holy shit. You know, I was just, they hit it on the money on some things. So definitely go watch it. I would probably give it 1.5, maybe 2, because sometimes you're just watching the show and you're like, oh god, can we just get the show over with? Because
that's
it was
MST3K sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the thing is sometimes you can only do with what you got.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not every movie is the gold mine of jokes and insults that Atlantic Rim is.
Yes, but definitely go watch it. So 1.5, maybe 2, pushing it. Excuse me, John. What's your next one?
My next one, I'll be going in reverse order, and the last one will be on a different rating scale.
Ooh.
So I finished season 1 of The Flash,
Ah.
and not only did I finish season 1 ends in a cliffhanger. So I watched the first goddamn episode of season 2 because, damn it, it's on Netflix and I can fucking do that. I can give you the middle finger for ending it on a cliffhanger and just watch the next episode. My overall, it's not going to change much of rating. It does get a little CW-y. Iris gets a little CW-y towards the end. Maybe just a touch too much here or there. But she's supposed to be young, so I'll give it a pass. But I really like the dynamic between almost all the characters. I love, Harrison Wells / the Reverse Flash. I love that whole relationship with everyone. They did a really good job on that because, he's there doing it. He's the bad guy throughout halfway through the season. But, he's still helping them out. And they handle it really well. It's really well done. It has the most comic book feel of any of the series I've watched. Way more than, say, than Arrow or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or even anything in the past. It feels the most true to comic book, story-wise, plot-wise, everything. And I enjoyed the crap out of it. I'm going to give it 1 Space Herpy just because at points it gets a little too CW-y, and at points it's a little formulaic, but overall very good. Gonzo?
I wanted to talk about something because we were all talking about it and going at the cancellation of Daredevil.
Oh, let me start with a rant on this first.
Stop blaming Netflix. It's not their fucking fault.
No, it's not.
Disney is making their own streaming service. This is not news. We knew this, and we all had an idea this could happen. So,
but here's the thing:
blaming Netflix.
Disney's not doing that. Disney came out and says, "No, we are not bringing these shows back on the air."
But they're not going to let
someone else take advantage of it. Yes,
their IP against them. That's like no.
Yeah. So going back, originally we thought they were going to be canceling all these because they were going to bring it on their own, which is not a bad idea if you think about it, about how things go. But Netflix,
they're too dark for Disney.
That is, and that's what they were saying. The shows are too dark for their Disney streaming service, so they are not going to be bringing back any of the Marvel shows, any of the Netflix Marvel shows back on their Disney channel, which I thought was interesting.
I hear that they are going to. They're currently still going with season 3 of Jessica Jones and season 2 of The Punisher. Season 1.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish out. And really, with it all said and done, the episode of Daredevil could have been. I was like, oh, that could have been a series finale. I could see that. That wasn't a problem. Okay. And so it wasn't bad. So it was there. It was done. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. Overall, You know, I think it's interesting that they're not going to pick it up because they were really good. I mean, Daredevil was the best of all of them by far, but it was just part of that thing that today they said no, they're not going on the Disney Channel. And sorry, guys, they're just over. But
Yeah, I mean,
they're not going to let someone else take their money.
no, they're not going to be like, we're not going to let you take our, IP and make money. I mean, it's probably just a matter of they would let them, but I don't imagine Netflix wants to put out the kind of money that they would take when there are 7 million independent superhero comics and things that they could try and make series off of.
Yeah.
Maybe they try and lure DC over, Who knows? I hear Titans is actually good. It's so far from what Titans should be. I haven't watched it because it requires a whole other streaming service that I'm not going to pay for right now.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We're going to see this problem on a meta level. Everyone's going to try and make their streaming service. CBS did.
Warner Brothers just announced theirs.
Yep.
See, Warner Brothers has the back catalog to actually make it worth it. And I think the real thing we're going to see is we're going to see the Amazon Prime and the Netflix, the ones who are going to eat it, because they're running off everyone else's stuff. But what's going to really happen if Amazon Prime and Netflix can keep it together long enough, the CBS is going to fail, the Warner Brothers are going to fail. Disney, I think, is the only one who's got the legs to make it work because they can make it all of their properties. Theoretically, they can do Disney and ABC they own and ESPN. They can make a giant Disney stream package that's worth $10 or $15 a month to the right person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They could do that, but the other ones I don't think have enough. They don't have enough out there to do it. WB maybe, especially if they bring DC in there, because DC I think is owned by Warner Brothers. They pull the DC in, I think they might be able to, but CBS is just going to die. And especially because they want too much money. It's like, was it like $7.99 a month with commercials? I can tell you my answer to that. It's 2 words.
But one of the things I did finish, and I started watching it, and now I finished it completely, was Sick Note, which was a British comedy.
Right.
Watched both seasons, finished it up. It's good background because you don't have to watch it a lot, although, of course, watching it, you get more out of it, especially when there's some good physical comedy. But went and watched it, saw the first and second season. It's not bad. If you like British comedy, you'll like this. If you like, shows where everything goes horribly wrong, you'll like this. So it's been pretty good. I'd probably give it 2 space herpes just because it's, there's a couple of small slow parts, but overall it wasn't bad. Gives something to watch in the background. They're not long episodes. There's some interesting things that go on. Some crazy, stupid stuff. But yeah, definitely good music to put to, or good sound while you're putting models together. How about that?
Good sound. I find I have a perfect thing for good sound for putting models together.
It's called music.
Yeah, but
we all know I have a problem watching anything but the most familiar movie while I'm trying to do hobby stuff. So, my last movie, you all knew this was coming. I told you I was watching it last week.
Yay.
Tuesday, I saw Superman the movie, the first one, in the theater with my cousin, and for about a third of it, his son. He had to drive him home in the middle of it because he was bored and didn't want to stay.
Oh.
It was worse because it's pretty much right around the time Superman reveals himself, which is one of the bigger action set pieces of it, because it's just Superman doing all the stuff at once. So where to start with it? I mean, first off, they got some top-notch actors in here.
yeah,
They've got Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman. They were known quantities. They were big actors. They're both Oscar winners at that point. They're both great. Gene Hackman is a very interesting take on Lex Luthor.
yep,
Marlon Brando brings poise and great emotion to his role as Jor-El, Superman's father. Done well. I mean, it doesn't. So graphically, of course, a lot of it does not hold up today. But you got to keep in mind, this is like practically, this is the 40th anniversary of that damn movie. 40 years. No graphics should hold up after 40 years. If we get to the points where graphics hold up after 40 years completely, that means we're not changing enough. That's a callback. But very good. Christopher Reeve is amazing. He has the look. He will always be Superman.
Yes.
I didn't dislike Brandon Routh as Superman, but he was not Superman. I didn't necessarily dislike Henry Cavill as Superman, but he was a Superman, and goddamn, this movie just takes Man of Steel and goes, hey, you know what you got wrong? Fucking everything. Because what does he learn early in the movie? He learns, I can't save people because they're going to die. But it's not like, oh, I could save my dad in a tornado, but he doesn't want to reveal myself and be different. What the fuck lesson are you given there? Hint, it's the wrong one. He learns, and heartfeltly, like, I couldn't save him. There's so many things I can do. I can't save him. That's a humbling moment. He needs that moment to be humble. To know, I can't do everything. No matter what I do, I cannot do everything. That's important for someone to learn, especially someone as powerful as him. The short upbringing in Smallville is cool. It's just a couple points. This is sort of like, they treat this movie, they treat the audience with respect. They know you know who Superman is. They know you probably know the fine points of his background. They're just going to hit upon the big notes for those of you who haven't seen it before, and they're not going to spend a lot of time. It's not going to be a full, background piece. It's just going to be little bits here and there, formative things, important notes here or there, and then on to him in Metropolis. And really, this isn't necessarily a full cohesive movie. It's almost like 2 episodes or 3 episodes of a TV series in movie form. Origin episode could be an episode, then you have him starting on Metropolis and all that. That could be another episode. Starts off with him going in, introducing Mrs. Clark Kent. And man, there's a scene shortly after Superman appears, where Superman has flown around with Lois Lane, and she's obviously taken with him, and he's obviously taken with her. And Clark shows up at the door, and she lets him, and he's like, oh, let me get something else on. And he's sitting there, and he takes his glasses off, and he stops hunching over her, and the transformation is real. That is great acting by Christopher Reeve. Because he goes, just taking off his glasses and straightening up, he goes from being Clark Kent to being Superman like that. And that's great acting. The rest of the actors are kind of hit or miss. Ned Beatty is amusing, bumbling henchman. Miss Tessmacher is okay. It's most of the rest. I mean, Lois Lane's good, but most of the rest are hit or miss. Take them or leave them. They do a fine job. The story's very weird, sort of real throwback Silver Agey sort of story, where Lex Luthor is going to buy up all. It's this weird combination. It's the overall plan is kind of Silver Agey, even though it's sort of a modern sensibility of him buying up useless desert land, and he's going to fire a missile into the San Andreas Fault and have it California slide into the sea, and suddenly he's got the best land ever, and he's going to sell it and make a huge profit. Really crazy. There's not a lot of extra exposition. Like, one of the plot problems is he has 2 missiles. One goes there. One goes to Addis Ababa goes to New Jersey. And that's because one of his henchmen screwed up. They don't explain he can't change it anymore, so it's going there because he fucked up the coordinates, and he just rolls with it and like, all right, I'll work this into my plan. So, there's a lot of that stuff going on. It's not like a modern movie, which is why I'm not going to rate it like a modern movie. I'm going to use a different scale. But overall, it's very good. It has a very strange ending. They used a lot of, model effects and all for a lot of destruction that happens. And then the ending, everyone knows this iconic scene where Superman flies around the world and turns time back. To try to say, you can't do that. That's not possible. So what I really think he's doing, he's actually traveling back in time. He's traveling back in time, and then he goes and helps his normal self stop everything, and then he just lets it go. The normal self probably goes back and does the same thing, or they merge into one, who cares? He goes back in time and stops it so Lois Lane doesn't die. which is funny because it sort of flies in the face of what the early lesson was, but not entirely, because there's this whole big thing of his father saying, his actual father, Jor-El, saying, you cannot, interfere in human history. And paradoxically, with his, his human father saying, you're put on this earth for a reason. So there's a lot of deep stuff there. You can dig into it. I think he goes back in time and saves her. And they get a happy ending with one of the most iconic endings ever, where he's flying off in space, sun's rising, and he looks into the camera and smiles and flies off. That is a great fourth wall break from a movie that it's not really the sort of style for it, but it works really well. So rating-wise, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Casablancas.
Wow.
Well, it's really good. It's really good for the time. It is a classic. It may, like I said about Casablanca, it may not hold up to modern audiences if you're expecting a modern experience. But it's really good. It was great to actually see it in the theater for the first time for me. And I enjoyed the crap out of it. So there you go. 4 out of 5 Casablancas. Hint, one of the few movies to get 5 out of 5 Casablancas is Casablanca. So I'll throw back on this. I feel like anything earlier than a certain point is going to be on the Casablanca scale rather than the Space Herpes scale.
All right.
So there you go. I think that was an episode. Was that an episode, Gonzo?
I actually have one more thing before we're almost done. Yeah. So it is just quick. They did release a teaser trailer for the new Sabrina series for part 2. They're not calling it season 2. They're calling it part 2.
That lawsuit got settled. It's all good.
Yeah, lawsuit got settled. And I think they didn't say any money was exchanged, but they did say that they have to make acknowledgement at the end of the episode when they use it. And it's like, okay. And so I watched the teaser trailer for Sabrina. And guys, I'm really digging the show. I know it's not a lot of... It's not hugely on the CW side, but it definitely has a little feel for it. But it is very dark, but very cool show. The character's really good. Part 2 looks really good. If you're not watching it, go watch it. And then you can get ready for it on April 5th. So, super excited for that. Other than that, that is it. I was going to see if we could raid somebody. There was somebody that was supposed to be on that we were supposed to raid to help out because they just started their Twitch channel and they do some painting and stuff. But I don't see that they're on today, so I'm kind of like all poopied about that.
Oh, well, no raid.
No raid. I thought they
you got time? Go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Watch an episode.
Go do something.
Watch some YouTube videos. Do
I'm
something
gonna
fun.
eat popcorn.
I'm going to go down and eat some more pizza and some of that cinnamon bready thing from Little Caesars because
Oh, because it's a bready thing from Little Caesars. Yum.
drenched in sugar stuff because that's awesome.
Oh, it's one of those.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like the pseudo churros.
Yeah, sort of. Just a big pan of bready stuff that's cinnamony with lots of, frosting on it. I mean,
I'll
fuck
be
yeah.
eating popcorn and watching football because it's Sunday night.
Oh, are you ready for some football?
So, on top of that, John, you have any episodes coming out this week?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know.
You're the one who schedules them all. I just send them to you, dog.
We do have one. We will have an episode of Dawn of the Harbinger this week. We do plan on playing. Kathy will be streaming this week, but Kathy will be doing it on Facebook Live this week to test out some stuff because she wanted to see how it goes.
For the first time ever, coming to you live on Facebook.
Live.
So Kathy will be doing that on our channel. Other than that,
I'm going to try and record an episode of Minis and Movies
Okay.
because I did watch the movie for it.
I'll be
I'll bet
painting on Facebook.
If anyone has a topic they want to hear me ramble on about, hit me with it. I love to hear topics. I love rambling, which is good because I do it well.
You're doing it right now. Good job, pal.
I mean, I am what I am, and that's all that I am.
Oh, Popeye reference.
Yeah.
So other than that, Kathy will be streaming on Facebook this week instead of Twitch, so she can kind of see what's going on.
Just dipping my toe in the Facebook water, seeing what's different about that than Twitch. So come join me for Kathy Paints at 10 a.m. Central on Monday and Thursday.
So I guess that's it. That's episode 60 in the can, guys.
I'm John.
I'm Kathy.
Jerk. I'm Gonzo. Good night.
Night.
You just had to do that too, didn't you?
I was going to do it multiple times throughout the thing, but I thought better.
I thought it worked well because we didn't jinx each other this time.
That's true.
Oh man, I think this beer, I'm making my allergies go crazy.
You're allergic to beer? God, that'll fucking suck.
Yeah, it will. I don't know. I just started drinking this beer. My nose is all clogged up.
Well, mine's a little rough, but that's just because I don't have the fan on to circulate the air.